Assalamu alaikum students. Now we are going to start new unit which is very much important to understand the physics as from the name mathematical tools. In order to know about a device, as we are having a tool. For example, we are having a screwdriver, that's a tool in order to know what is inside a computer, how you can open the big machinery, etc. Similarly, this unit has been named and placed in class 11th. Most of the people make it the first unit of this very 11th class, mathematical tools. In order to understand the physics, this very unit is very much important. The first topic that we have to go through it, these are simple ones. First, we should be able regarding what is quantity or what is physical quantity, what I meant to say. Any quantity, any material actually, yeah, anything which can be measured, which can be measured, or you can say the measurable quantity, measurable thing. For example, you will say time, we can measure. You will say time, you are having pressure or having temperature, etc. These are called as the quantities. Now this very quantity term has been divided into two things. One is called as a constant quantity, and another is called as the variable quantity. From the name constant, any physical quantity whose value whose does not change during mathematical operation. Oblique process. And similarly for this very whose value change, because variable you might have read in your class 11th equation, linear equation, two variable, one variable is x y z. As you take, whose value changes. Now let me make you understand constant. For example, if we will put like this, the value of pi as it's a fixed one, it's 3.14. Whether once you are going to use pi in any pi r square, 2 pi r, the circumference of area, the circumference of circle, the area of circle. You are going to use constant there, that's called as a pi. Its value never changes. Wherever you are going to use, its value is always constant. Or E, the charge of electron, 1.6 into 10 is power minus 19 coulomb. These are called absolute constant. Yeah, gravitational constant. If you are going to take gravitational constant, 6.67 into 10 is power minus 31 kg, minus 11. 6.67 minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square, minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square. So these very things are called as the constant things. And in constants we can have absolute constant as well as temporary constant. Absolute constants are like pi, E, G. These are called as the absolute constants. They will not change. They will not change. But the temporary constants which are for a particular question. For example, if you are saying a body moves with a constant velocity of this, so in that very question the velocity becomes as constant. But in the next question the velocity may be uh, variable. But wherever in the question, anywhere you are going to use pi, e.g., their value never changes. So these very constants and further two types, but broadly you have to understand constant whose value remains. The variable you might have read, for example, if you are going to say variable like this, where I will place here 4x plus 2y is equal to 3. Like this will be just 3 is a constant, this 2 is a constant, this 4 is a constant, but this x and y, it can take different values. So this very thing is called as a variable whose value changes with the passage of time, which cannot be fixed forever. So that very thing is called as a variable thing. So constant quantity is the quantity whose value remains constant during a mathematical process or operation. But variable is, you can say, the physical quantity whose value changes with the passage of time. Now this variable, you have to say, we have to discuss broadly variables. Variables are of two types. One is called as a dependent variable, dependent variable, and another is called as independent. No, it is very much easy, but it is very much important. Now onwards, you have to be very cautious. For example, I will put somewhere y equals to x plus 3. And now if I will give different values to x, if I will give value 0 to x, then y will be 1. If it will be 1, it will be 3. If it will be 2, y will be 4. If it will be 5, if it will be 5, y will be 8. So on changing the values of x, y will also change. If I will get bigger and bigger values for x, I will get bigger and bigger values for y. If I will put smaller and smaller values for x, I will get smaller and smaller values for y. So I will say this is variable, x is also variable, but y is also variable. One is both are variable, then among the two, as y is dependent upon the x, so we can say y is a function of x. And here f of x, y is a function of x, and here f of x is equal to x plus 3. Y changes with x, and how it changes? As the function is x plus 3. So x is called as the independent variable and y is called as dependent. It is independent variable, it is independent variable. The values of y depend upon the x, as x is independent one, but the value y, whatsoever value, whether big values or small values, whether negative or positive, it all depends upon the x. If x is minus 10, y will be minus 7. It all depends upon the x. So by that we have to understand that as there are two values, they are having an interdependent relation. One is dependent upon the another. Then we can say such that now this is a function. Now y is a function of x. Y is a function of x, and we put it like this: y equal to f of x, and f of x is equal to this. If somehow we will have, so as usual, we know area of a circle. Area of a circle equals what? Pi r square. As pi is the constant, is absolute constant. Now area will depend upon only one thing. If r will change, area will change. R will be smaller, area will be smaller. If r will be bigger, area will be bigger. For big values of r, area will be bigger and bigger. So I will say area is a function of r, and here f of r is equal to pi r square. So here r is an independent variable, but area is a dependent variable upon the r. So this is how I am making you understand that there is a relation between two quantities, a dependent quantity and independent quantity. The value of one depends upon the another. If you give for one quantity, if you give new and new values, there will be new and new values for the dependent quantity. So this very thing, as you are having the relation between dependent and independent, once you will get this very point that there is the relation between the two variables. They are having one, both are variables, but one is dependent and one is independent. Then after we'll be having a new lecture regarding the which you can say the function, limit of a function. As now you will understand this is called as a function, then we will have a limit of a function and we have to solve some limits, and then after we'll go for differentiation. Till then, Allah Hafiz.